Hey, Ben. I can hear you. I can see you. Can almost touch you.
Nearly.
Almost. There you go. Yeah. This
How
is
are
the
you?
future. This is the future. You're like reaching out and touching through a screen, and we'll have some experience.
That's right. Nikki, good to have you here. So first of all, we have two reasons to talk, the release of the Best Of album and the release of the book.
Yes.
So let's start with the music. Just released your greatest hits album. How do you feel with that?
You know, we had we worked pretty quickly. The last records that we did was a double record, and we did it like in 6 months. Yeah. There's a magic chemistry between me and the guys in the band. But that was and then we went. So I did Motley Crue, double album, released them, went out, supported. I was Five Finger and Shinedown, did arenas, and did a bunch of festivals in Europe. Played some weird gigs. It was really a blast. And then we came home, and it was we needed a break. And we started talking about this idea of a hits right. We was man, we've had a lot of hits, and also fan hit, because it's not called greatest hits. They're not everyone's, a paid for number one. They're the hits, the ones the fans voted on, the ones with the biggest streaming numbers, et cetera, et cetera. And then we wrote some new songs for it, and then re-recorded some old songs. We were just in this cool creative process. And then I called the guys up and said, I'm almost done with this new book I'm writing about my first 21 years. Remember when we did the soundtrack to my book, The Heroin Diaries, did the Heroin Diaries soundtrack. And they were like, that was such a fun experience. And I asked them if they'd be, open to writing a song and about that. And then 2 hours later, we're talking about, when DJ was growing up in Indiana, and he was just wasn't allowed to go to concerts because he's a really religious family. And then he got his first guitar, and then his first girlfriend, and then James, same thing, and me, same thing. And then that's what we captured in the song. And we wrote it in kind of a 70s way. We have this kind of post-chorus Queen part that comes out. Then this verse that, in the 70s, the verse could sometimes be the chorus. So it was the first 21, and we're talking about first 21. And then we do the actual chorus. It's talking about, when we were young and we were as high as the stars in the sky. So we're able to write from a different perspective. And then it was finding all the old 8mm film in my aunt and uncle's garage, that we were able to work with Lucy Dyson, that works with Paul McCartney a lot, to put together a really cool video. I feel like we kind of captured the whole essence.
Do you have a favorite track for you personally on the album?
There's some really, really great songs. Life is Beautiful is always going to be a special song to me, very much like some of the songs for Motley Crue that first connected us to a lot of people. I guess Livewire could be that song, but a lot of people feel, stuff like Looks at Kill, before we became bigger, Mm-hmm. There's, I don't know, man. It's really interesting to be in 6 a.m. because we're a different band than Motley Crue, mm-hmm. Yet Motley Crue fans like 6 a.m. It's not so different where it's I don't like that stuff Nikki's doing over there. And that's been kind of cool to be I'm in a new band in a sense. I get played alongside of the Axing Alexandrias and the Papa Roaches and the Five Fingers. Yet I'm in this other band that gets played next to Zeppelin and GNR and stuff. So that's, I don't know, man. It's a pretty cool place to be.
You started the band in 2007, 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So what was the reason for you to create a new band besides Motley Crue?
As long as I can remember, I've been kind of a documentarian, writing stuff down, different ideas. And whether it's photography or poetry or writing books, and I got to Los Angeles and We talk about the discovery of music in Los Angeles and how important that was, and coming of age and stuff. So I got finally, you know, Motley Crue is like everything. Motley Crue is still my mothership, but the brain, the young boy in Idaho, he's still dreaming. And, you know, this write a book, write a soundtrack to a book, you know, start getting more well-known as a photographer, you know, working with Leica camera, having my own gallery shows. They named a camera after me. This is the thing I like to share with people is, you know, you don't have to be linear, and you just have to follow like what you're passionate about. And I feel really fortunate, like that's why I did 6 a.m. It has nothing to do with Motley Crue. At one point, guys at Motley Crue are like so awesome. We were doing a thing called Crue Fest, and Life is Beautiful was like peaking at #1 everywhere in America. And they were totally cool with putting 6 a.m. Now, we were on the bottom of the bill, but with, you know, on this Crue Fest tour. So I got to play. That was a cool experience. I had to play in 6 a.m., then go backstage, hang out, and come back on stage and play in Motley Crue. So it was like, well, how do I do this? Like, Motley Crue is about blood and guts and punching you in the face, and 6 a.m.'s, I don't know, maybe more about ripping your heart out. So that was cool. Like, right? Like, I don't know if I'll ever get to do that again.
We have to talk about a very special album for me personally, Dr. Feelgood. Because I saw the Dr. Feelgood tour in Munich when you played together with the guys from Skid Row.
Yes, that was a great tour.
Yeah, and I talked to Tommy and Mick at that time. What is the special thing about the Dr. Feelgood album? What was the secret of the success?
When we finished, we were living in an apartment, me and Tommy and Ben, so Too Fast for Love album. We were, you know, we had all of our favorite albums that we loved, you know, whether it was like Aerosmith Rocks or like Judas Priest and AC/DC. And Too Fast for Love's is literally what it is. Like, we went in the studio, you push record, the fire in the belly, and you captured it. And did a couple overdubs. That was it, because we had no money, right? And so we thought that was, we thought it sounded great, but then we compared it to our heroes. We wanted to step up the sonics. So because Too Fast for Love did so good, we got a major label deal with Elektra. We got to go in the studio and record Shout at the Devil, and actually got to spend a few months in there. Then like the next album, which like, so it became about sonics. And I think we had tapped out on our sonics with Tom Werman producing. We were looking for something else. So we were like looking at producers that had records that had layers and tons of adventurous undertones and stuff. And we had heard, but we didn't want to be like softer. We wanted to be thicker and heavier. And the songs were leaning towards that. And songs like Kickstart My Heart and stuff like that. We heard Kingdom Come, I think, on the radio. And I remember I was with Tommy, and he goes, listen to that drum sound. And I was like, yeah, it's like not Bonham, but in the Bonham world. And I wonder how they recorded that, you know, all this stuff. We find out it was Bob Rock. So I send Bob Rock a demo tape of basically the album. We'd just gone to this little studio in the valley, and we were just, would write, we'd go to rehearsal, we'd rehearse up, we'd go to the thing, we would record pretty much live off the floor, do a few overdubs, and we had demos. And we did that for Shout at the Devil. We've done that a lot. I love that process. So we had the music to send to Bob Rock, and that was the beginning of a long relationship with Bob Rock. For me, one of my longest, dearest friends, and someone I respect so much. And to bring him back in to work on the Dirt songs was exciting, because Bob will push you. And I'm in the recording studio. Like I am this is what I hear. This is what I want. Like, these are the lyrics. Let's keep pushing, in the studio. And Tommy's pushing the sonics and we're demoing. But when I get in the studio with my producer, I now feel like my job is now to be the bass player. And if I'm told, like I was by Bob Rock, to rewrite the lyrics for Dr. Feelgood 7 times, I go do what I'm told. And I enjoy that. It's like he becomes the alpha male and he was able to walk us through things that we didn't know. Just unbelievable.
Is there, let's say, a special chemistry recording at the Little Mountain Sound Studios in Vancouver?
I think the chemistry was that none of us were home. So we went from living in an apartment together and lived and breathed Motley Crue 24 hours a day to, eventually having our own homes. We lived in different areas. We're still in a band, but we're not like in it together all the time. And things, you have life, in the way. So the idea was to get the hell out of LA and move to Vancouver, and only Motley Crue is the only thing that mattered. We got up in the morning, did what we, worked out, cleaned up, went to the studio by 11, and we were in the studio and we worked really hard till a certain time. Bob was like, 8 o'clock, we're done. Like, we're done. We're going to work our asses off. We have one break in between. And then you go back, you listen to the daily recordings, you get your ideas. We're actually going to bed on time and getting up early. And everything was just about feeling good, being in it, living it, breathing it. And I think the thing was there's no distractions.
Did Bob also say, okay, this song you're going to put on the album, this song not? How was he involved into the process of choosing songs?
I think Bob is, at the time of those songs, really liked the body of work that we had created. It was just a matter of mastering them into a way, not master recording, like getting them to be there at their peak. And, there's songs on the record that I like She Goes Down, for example, was just kind of this riff and just being snarky. And I never really thought it would be on the album. But, you listen back and you're like, oh, that's a great riff. And it's kind of got a cool groove and stuff like Rattlesnake Shake. We were working on, but didn't really come to fruition until we were in the studio, bringing in the saxes and stuff like that, we'd never had stuff like that on albums, and background singers and just a lot of stuff to help develop the density of the sound.
You're writing most of you wrote most of the songs in Motley Crue, also in 6 a.m. How do you, let's say, how do you change? This is Motley Crue, this is 6 a.m.
It's all about who you're with. So if me and you are writing a song, it's going to be different than if I'm with these two guys over here, or if I'm with the guys of Motley Crue. It's just natural. People have their own ideas, their own way of playing. So, we didn't really have to say, hey, this is too Motley sounding, or, it just never did. But it's still rock, you know what I mean?
Sure, it is, definitely. There's, I read the book. It seems to me very, very personal.
Yes.
The new one. There's one person seems to be very important for you, Alan Kovac. What can you say about him?
By Alan Kovac?
Yeah. So,
during the process after Feelgood, and we had a falling out with Doc McGee around the Moscow Music Festival, and we were with Doug Thaler. It was a great manager, great nuts and bolts guy, but I was starting to be more interested in multiple layers for the band. Now you can say, oh, Nikki writes books and soundtracks and turns it into a musical. that you can, oh, that guy's always thought like that. So I just remember a couple moments where like I had mentioned, literally like, hey, what's the biggest show on television right now? And it was like The Simpsons. And I go, we should launch our new song on The Simpsons. And that never happened. And because no one was listening, because they were doing it old school way. And then another moment for me is I called up and said, who's the one that called Dr. Pepper? Who's the one that makes you feel all right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, my 2-year-old could have come up with that idea. And the phone calls were never made. And there were other things. And I remember at the time it was like talking to Tommy and the guys in the band. I said, we're going to be stuck in the same old, like put a record out, do a tour, come home, sit on the couch, write songs, put a record out, go on tour. What's all the different opportunities that we have? So we started looking for a marketing person, somebody that understands marketing, because we wanted to be marketed different. We wanted fans to see us in a different light. Very important to do that, because you have your rock audience, which is the most important thing to us. But there's other people out there that may not have heard of you that would also love you and get into your band. And so we met Alan Kovac. We met a lot of other managers and stuff. And it was the same old dog and pony show. Yeah, I'll put you guys on the road for 18 months and you'll either die from an overdose or you guys will break up, but I'll get my 15%. And Alan was like, I don't do that. And we had, we literally set in on these like huge marketing meetings and like how we could plug the band in here and how we could, even coming up with stuff like, like the soda that we had, Motley Crue, and doing a lot of interesting press that was just outside the norm. And we started finding ourselves really enjoying that. And Alan's the manager of Motley Crue. He's also been my manager in 27 years. I've never signed a contract with Alan. I'm a handshake guy. I guess Alan knows that. I don't know what his deal is with anybody else. We work together because we enjoy working together. We spend a lot of time coming up with ideas and a lot of times being told no by him and me trusting in him enough about right around the time of the Heroin Diaries, I wanted to do a children's book and for parents to read to kids about some of the dangers and figuring out a way to do that wouldn't be scary, right? And he said, I need you to wait 10 or more years because we got all this other stuff that we're doing. And right now, that's something that's going to happen in the next year, probably. Me and my wife are working on a children's book, teaching kids not about drugs and alcohol. This one's about diversity and culture. And the last administration really American administration woke my brain up to how divided people are, especially in America. And so I'm able to live and breathe and absorb and create and have ideas and have a guy that I could talk to. He's like, now this is something that's important we're going to do. I got a stadium tour like in front of me. Like I'm going to go out and blow stuff up and rock out and have a great time. And it's a great package. I hope to go to Europe and South America and on and on. But also the creative brain wants to feel free to do other stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I don't do it for money. I mean, most of the side stuff I do doesn't really make any money. I mean, other people make money, but it's because I love it. And if I love it, I could do something. And I got another 20 years of just being super creative and weird. Like, why not just keep exploring? And Alan Kovac's a part of me being able to explore.
Yeah. You talked about talked about the stadium